Hi, it's the Irish Gypsy here to give you your March 2016 mid-month reading. I continue to use the Gilded Tarot deck, and even though we are focusing more on the last half of the month than the month entire, I am still going to be using the same 8-card spread with an additional card as your overall theme and general feeling for the month. I always say these are general readings, so if they don't apply or resonate with you and you don't feel like you can relate to them at all, I suggest you check your rising and your moon sign as well. Thank you to those of you who continue to watch and listen and subscribe to my channel. You are the reason I'm here, and your feedback and comments are so appreciated and so welcome, both on my YouTube channel and the ones you send through email. And thank you to those of you who continue to reach out for personal readings. It is always an honor and a pleasure to read for you. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity for that. For those of you who are interested in personal readings, you can click on the About sign on my channel's homepage, and that will give you a little more information in detail on what I do, the services I offer, and my contact information, which is Maggie1McGuire@gmail.com. I do readings full time, and so I work pretty well with your schedule in getting you readings as soon as possible. My current turnaround time is around 24 to 48 hours. So again, if you're interested in that, just send me an email and we'll go from there. So let's get right into this. This reading is for Taurus from March 2016, mid-month. Taurus, March 2016, mid-month. What does the remainder of the month of March hold for our lovely bulls? Taurus, March 2016, mid-month. Okay. We begin with the Ten of Wands, followed by the Two of Wands, the Temperance card, followed by the Hermit, the Five of Cups, followed by the Knight of Wands, and the Six of Wands, followed by the Three of Wands. And as your overall theme, general feeling for the reading, the card from the bottom of the deck is the Nine of Cups. Beautiful crowning card. Okay, Taurus, let's take a look. Okay, let's begin. We find ourselves in the middle of March 2016, Taurus, with the Ten of Wands, followed by the Two of Wands. You have 4 wand cards in this spread, Taurus, which implies a lot of activity, a lot of stuff going on, even though there is a strong theme of patience and waiting as well. So the Ten of Wands represents a burden of some kind, and I always get kind of a long-standing feel with this burden. It feels like it's something that you've been carrying for quite some time. But around the middle of March 2016, Taurus, it looks like it's just about coming to an end. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a cold. Tens represent the ends of cycles, the culmination of things, the coming full circle of things. It means you're almost at the very end. It's something that you've been carrying for quite some time that feels like it's been very heavy. It's been a burden. It's been a bit of a challenge, a long, hard slog of something, but you're almost at the end where you're going to be able to stand up straight, put these down, stand up straight, and take a deep breath. You can see that this man is carrying the weight of these 10 wands, and it's so heavy that he can't even stand up straight. He's completely bowed over by the weight of these things. But his head is up, and he's looking at something, which always makes me feel as if his destination, his goal point, where he's going to be able to lay these wands down, is just right in front of him. He's almost at the very end, which is also, again, what the number 10 indicates. So Taurus, I feel like you're coming into, or you're arriving at the middle of March 2016, just about at the end of something that you've been carrying either for quite a long time or at least for some time, and it's been a burden. It's been a long, hard slog of something. It's been very, very challenging. And I kind of had the feeling, too, that you've held up under it admirably. Now, the Ten of Wands is accompanied by the Two of Wands. And Wands, I might add, too, the element is air and fire. It's a very dynamic combination. And it's a suit that points towards action, change, movement, action, power. The Two of Wands is about coming to a crossroads and needing to make a decision on which path to take, which would benefit you most in the long run. And it's a path that you need to take that would provide the most expansion and growth for you in this matter. So, and the Two of Wands, in addition to being an expansion and growth card, it indicates too that the path this man has traveled to get to this particular crossroads has been a pretty decent path. He's been pretty successful on it. And there's also an implication from this card that it's a path that he's walked alone or that he hasn't had a lot of help and support on, which I think is part of the burden that you've been carrying that the Ten of Wands also represents, Taurus. But you've come to a crossroads with where you're going to go with this burden from now on. There's a choice in front of you, two different paths that you can take. And again, it's a card that points towards expansion and growth in a path. Now, as I look at the spread to see if I can narrow down what the actual subject is, you have a couple of cup cards and a lot of wand cards and a couple of major arcana cards. So for some of you, this is possibly going to resonate as a relationship of some kind because you have the presence of the cups there, although one of those cup cards is your crowning card. It's a beautiful crowning card as well. But for others of you, it's going to be just focused more on something to do with the wand energy, which would be, I think, for some of you, projects, an entrepreneurial thing, a creative thing of some kind, or your career. You've come to a point where you've been working a lot, you've been holding up under a lot of work, a lot of pressure. Perhaps you've been putting a lot of hours into something at work, into your career, into some project that means a lot to you. The wand card also indicates a lot of creativity, fire, passion, enthusiasm. This is something that you've been working on for some time, and you've been investing quite a bit of your own emotional self in. But this particular part of the path, the heavy part of the path, looks like it's just about over. The only thing that remains is to make the decision on which way you're going to go. And again, the underlying advice that comes attached to this card is to choose the path, whatever the subject matter is, depending on how this resonates for you, is to choose the path that's going to provide the most opportunity and potential for expansion and growth, particularly down the road in the longevity of this project or this relationship. Now, directly following that, we have the combination of two major arcana cards. We have Temperance and we have the Hermit. So Temperance card speaks of just that. It speaks of temperance, of patience and moderation. But it also speaks of holding opposite things in perfect unison and perfect harmony. You can see that this woman is dealing with both water and fire, but she's holding them in harmony. She's holding them in balance. This card also speaks towards a sense of self-integration, wholeness, and self-acceptance with yourself too. And it implies being kind of rooted and grounded in who you are and in your path, no matter what's going on around you. The Temperance cards can, I think this matter, again, whether for some of you it's going to be, I think for the larger portion of you, it's going to be something to do with a project, a career-based sort of thing. And for a smaller portion of you, I think this is going to be a relationship. And again, that doesn't necessarily mean a love relationship, a love romance relationship. It could be just another relationship that's quite close, a best friend, a family member, something like that. But you're at a decision-making process. You're coming to a crossroads in the middle of March 2016. And I believe that this, directly following the Ten of Wands and the Two of Wands, this combination of two major arcana cards, the Temperance card and the Hermit card, is a very strong piece of advice in how to approach this particular decision, and some advice on how to choose it. It speaks of having patience, temperance, and of holding, again, opposite things in unison and harmony. But there's also a strong piece of advice in using your own particular life experiences to help guide you in making this decision and how you actually walk down this path after you make this decision. Because the Temperance card is paired with the Hermit card. And the Hermit card shows an aged man, aged because we often consider older people to have a little more wisdom and intuition than we do because they've simply walked a longer path and they've had more time and opportunity to garner that wisdom and strength. You can see this man is slowly, carefully, methodically picking his way across this narrow pathway so that he could avoid falling down this dangerous crevasse on each side. And he's using the light of the lantern to guide him by so that he doesn't make any wrong steps, so he can get from one place to another, from one side to another. And the lantern is symbolic of the wisdom and experience he's gained from walking his life, from the steps he's already walked, the path he's already trodden. And so there's a very strong piece of advice, uh, Taurus, in however you're approaching this decision, and even after you make the decision, how you walk the path after that. It feels as if you're supposed to use your life experience up until this date. And also there's an implication of being patient, maybe again still remaining a bit alone in this process too, because the hermit can also speak towards um, a sense of loneliness, or being alone, or being in a place where nobody else can really help you make this decision. Nobody else can really help you walk this particular part of the path that you're walking. There's also advice attached to this about going within and seeking out your own intuition. And again, your own wisdom, what your own gut instinct tells you, based on the life experiences you've had. What does your experience tell you? What does your instinct tell you is not only the correct path to choose, but in how to walk that path, at least this part of it. And it looks like it's going to require some moderation and some patience. Now, right next to that, we have the Five of Cups, followed by the Knight of Wands. Now, the Five of Cups is a card, excuse me, is a card I like to call the crying over spilt milk card. Cups, the element is water, and it's a suit that points towards our emotions, our emotional landscape and atmosphere, both inside and outside. Cups is also a suit that can indicate love and relationships and how we relate to the people we are in relation to. You can see on the front of this card that there's a man who's sunk down to his knees in the grass, and he is completely and intensely focused on these three goblets next to him, which are tipped over and spilled out. All his mental and emotional energy is spent grieving and lamenting over what he feels he has lost or what has been taken from him. But this is not the Three of Cups, this is the Five of Cups. Just behind this man are two beautiful goblets, still upright and still full. But he's not noticing them, he's not paying any attention to them, because his back is turned to them. He's focused only on what he has lost, what no longer is, what no longer remains, or what he feels, again, has been taken from him. So, Taurus, it looks like, and I feel like this is maybe somehow during the decision-making process of trying to choose which of these paths, something, you need to decide what you're going to do about some kind of burden you've been carrying. Again, I think for the larger portion of you, this is more about a project, a business, a career-related thing. I think for a smaller portion of you, it's going to represent a relationship. Whatever it is, it looks like it's been a burden. And either this burden is coming to an end and you need to decide how you're going to let it go, or it needs to come to an end and you're trying to make a decision on how to do, and again, how to do that. It's a decision which is going to have to require you kind of going within, using your own life experience, your own intuition and wisdom, your own instinct to point you in the right direction and how to best walk through this path. Be patient, be moderate, be tempered with yourself, come from a place of wisdom and compassion, because it looks like you're still focused on, it almost feels like you're kind of paralyzed in this decision-making process, and you're focused on the negative parts of the situation, only on the negative parts of the situation. Perhaps what you feel that carrying this burden has lost you, or what it has cost you, or what you feel has been taken away from you because of this burden you've been carrying and this responsibility that you've taken on for yourself. But right behind you, Taurus, are these two upright goblets which you're not looking at, because all of your attention is focused only on the negative, when it looks like there's still some good to be salvaged from the situation, still some blessings and opportunities and positive options which remain. And the strong and obvious piece of advice attached to this card, Taurus, is to take that energy and put it instead on the positivity of what options remain, of what can still be salvaged. It looks like there's still blessings around you, which you're not noticing right now, because all of your energy is focused only on the negative and only on what no longer is because of this burden. You cannot look in two directions at once. If you're looking back, you're stuck in the past. You can't look forwards and backwards at the same time. So again, it looks like, and again, I kind of have a feeling that you get a little stuck in this process, and you're just kind of focused on the negative. Again, it feels like what you feel you've lost or sacrificed perhaps in order to carry this burden. Now, the Five of Cups is accompanied by the Knight of Wands, and I feel like this represents help of some kind that's coming in to aid you. Again, we have that Suit of Wands, very action oriented, and it implies a degree of action, of getting up and actually doing something, taking action, making this decision, and putting action behind it. Knights are the bringers of the tarot. They're the ones that go charging in, and the Knight of Wands is a very fast, powerful individual because he's the Knight of the suit of air and fire. And the Knight of Wands would come charging in. Uh, and this can represent an actual individual that's either in your sphere or very quickly coming into your sphere to offer you some kind of help, or he helps inspire you somehow, helps you during this decision making process, or brings you something. Again, I feel like it's some kind of help that kind of lifts you up out of this kind of despondent, moody slog that you're stuck in with this burden, trying to figure out what to do. And he helps you in some way, and it's something that makes you feel good too. It's something that kind of fires you up, where you've just been kind of passive and kind of sitting in almost kind of a depressed state. But this individual comes in, or there's something that comes in that fires you up, that renews you. There's a sense of passion and invigoration and enthusiasm around the Knight of Wands, and this inspires movement and action. Again, for some of you, this can just be energy that comes in. It could just be anything that sparks that, and for some of you, this could represent an actual individual. In which case, Wands is air and fire, but I always get more of a fire sign feel from this. So it could be a Leo, Sagittarius, or an Aries, or someone who strongly manifests those traits of the Knight of Wands. Very action-oriented individual, the kind of person that would come in and say, okay, let's get up, take a shower, let's get going, let's fix this thing. And it looks like it's quite successful, and it looks like you do this, Taurus, because at or towards the end of the month, we have the Six of Wands paired with the Three of Wands. So the Six of Wands is the victory card of the tarot deck. It represents an absolute victory. Whatever this thing is, you're going through this process. It feels like you're kind of stuck in the mud a little bit, kind of depressed, focusing only on the negative. Something comes in towards the last half of this month, and I feel maybe it's in the third week of the month, beginning of the fourth week of the month. Something happens that breathes some kind of spark of enthusiasm, passion, fire, something that inspires you to act on this thing, to make a decision about what you're going to do with this burden, how to cut yourself free from it, however it is that you choose to deal with this. Because again, I feel like whatever this burden is, whatever this responsibility is, it feels like you're looking at it in a way that you've lost a lot, you've sacrificed a lot, and it's time to lay this burden down. It's time to decide which path to take so that you can be free from this thing, or that it can be lightened for you quite a bit. Whatever happens with that Knight of Wands, it looks like it inspires you to action. You take the action you need to, and you actually triumph over this thing. The Six of Wands represents a victory. You can see that this man is riding back into town, and I say back because he's gone somewhere. He went off to accomplish something, to overcome something, to do something, and he's been successful. He's triumphed. He's achieved success, and he's riding back into town. The banners are waving. The crowds are giving him cheers and praise and accolades. It's a beautiful card. It's a card that speaks of having triumphed over this. And I think it comes as a result of having made this decision and everything that you've invested in it to date. I think it's a validation of either what you've sacrificed or what you've had to endure and what you've had to invest in carrying this thing. Again, whether it's just all the time and energy and resources you put into a career, a project of some kind, or a relationship that's been very challenging. But this Six of Wands at the end, this victory at the end it feels like it's a validation of everything that you've invested in it, even though it has also cost you quite a bit. It looks like at the end of the day, it has paid off for you in a big way because you're celebrating something. And I believe it's everything that you've invested, it's as a result of all the work that you've invested and all the waiting you've been doing to see how this thing pans out. You can see in the Three of Wands that this man has two wands planted in the ground behind him, and he's holding on to the third one, and he's watching this ship. And depending on the placement of the cards and the reading itself, it's sometimes difficult to tell if the ship is leaving and he's waiting to see what it brings back, or if his ship is coming in. But I feel in this reading at the end of March 2016, Taurus, that your ship is coming in, and quite literally. Even though Wands is an action-oriented suit, the Three of Wands is one of the most passive cards in that suit, because it's a card of waiting, it's a card of patience, it's a card of gestation, it's a card of having planted everything you can, done everything you can, and you've been patiently waiting for your ship to come in to see what that ship is carrying. It looks like the energy of temperance and the hermit and this burden you've been carrying, all the work that you've been doing, everything that you've been investing in it has really paid off, because at the end of the day, that is what has won you this beautiful victory, and you have triumphed over this thing. Whether again it's the coming together, the opening of a new business, your successful new career shift, or overcoming some kind of challenge within a relationship, because your crowning card, Taurus, is beautiful. It's the Nine of Cups. It's the yes card, the wish card, the having what you want, having not just enough, but more than enough. You can see on the front of this card that this man is holding his own goblet aloft. He has a lot. He's well fed, he's celebrating, he's having a party. There are 8 other goblets in front of him, all full and upright. The implication being that he has so much that he can share all of it with his friends and family. Again, this is a card of having everything that you want. There is a bit of advice attached to this card. Sometimes this card can also point towards needing to ask yourself what it is that you truly want, what it is that where it is that your joy, your heart, your fulfillment is. But again, it's a very happy card. It's a card of having more than enough, of having your hopes and wishes answered. If there was a particular question that you had, this card is the yes card. And it's the overall theme and general feeling for the remainder of March 2016. So Taurus, it looks like, again, it's been kind of a long, hard slog. It's been a challenge. Whatever this thing is that you've been carrying, that you've been investing so much in, sacrificing so much for, maybe doing without, and being very patient. Which, again, the beautiful earth sign that you are, Taurus, it's something that you are well capable of. It's one of your inherent character traits, this ability to be very reliable, dependable, rooted, put one foot in front of the other, and get the job done. And it looks like being exactly who you are, the best of who you are, is what brings you victory in this thing and allows it to open up, either to let go, to open up, to loosen up something. You're moving into a new phase of it, and it feels very, very good. So Taurus, I hope you've enjoyed this reading. I hope it has resonated with you or given you some clarity and insight and some hope. Kudos to you on a job well done. It looks like you deserve all this celebration at the end of the month. So I hope you've enjoyed this reading. And if any of you are interested in a personal reading, you can click on the About sign, as I said before, or email me directly at maggie1mcguire@gmail.com. And Taurus, until I see you again in a couple of weeks for the April 2016 general reading, I wish you joy, peace, blessings, and a happy life. Bye.